Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Crunch Time with Katelin. In this episode, I will be recapping the NBA trading deadline. I will be going through each trade that has happened the past few days and just giving my opinion on the winner and the loser for each trade and all that stuff and whatnot. Um, Also, please bear with me while I'm, scrolling through. So if there's a couple long pauses, my bad. So let's get started. So a few days ago, the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic made a trade. The Magic got point guard Brandon Jennings and stretch four Ilyasova. Well, I mean, he's a stretch four. I don't know his first name. So I'm just going to say Ilyasova. And the Pistons got Tobias Harris, who is another stretch four. Both of those, I think this is one of the trades that help out both teams. Um, the Magic have, they get Brandon Jennings, who I always thought was a top, I don't know, 16 point guard when he was healthy. Um, he could come off the bench. He's a good shooter. He's an above average playmaker. And I think the Magic needed someone like Brandon Jennings because Alfred Payton, yes, he's a good facilitator, but he's not a good shooter at all. And if Jennings could be the sixth man for them, I mean, they already have a shit ton of, backcourt players. But if he could be their main sixth man and, you know, give them, shooting and facilitation off the bench, that'd be perfect for them. Uh, Harris for Detroit, I mean, it is interesting because they're trying to build around Reggie Jackson and Drummond. So I don't know if he's going to play the stretch four or he's going to play the three. They have Marcus Morris on their team. They have Stanley Johnson. They have KCP. So it's definitely interesting, but I mean, he's definitely one of the players who can, you know, help spread the floor out, whether they go big or smaller, whatever. And Detroit also made another move, which I will get to in a little bit. The next uh, trade that happened a few days ago was a three-team trade. The Charlotte Hornets got Courtney Lee and Cash from Memphis. The Grizzlies got PJ Hairston from Charlotte and Chris Anderson from Miami. And the Grizzlies also got 4 second-round draft picks. One in 2017, one in 2018, and 2 in 2019. And then the Heat got Brian Roberts, backup point guard, who they ended up dealing today. So, again, I'll get to all that. The Hornets, I believe they're still in the contention to make a playoff push. With Michael Kidd-Gilchrist coming, being out the rest of the year, it's definitely a good move. I like Courtney Lee. I thought he was definitely someone the Cavs could maybe get from the Grizzlies. So I think overall I like that. The Grizzlies going young, getting PJ Hairston, and getting, I mean, not really young, but a solid backup center in Chris Anderson. And again, you getting 4 second-round picks. Those are definitely valuable when you're trying to, rebuild, or not really rebuild, but retool, considering Gasol's out for the entire year. And then with Brian Roberts, again, he was a tradable asset, which I will get to in a little bit. Going back to Detroit, the Pistons traded Joel Anthony and their first round pick in the 2016 draft for Monty and Marcus Thornton, who were on the Rockets. Monty is in the last year of his contract. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, I believe. So for the Rockets, it's basically a salary dump and, getting another first-round pick in case Dwight Howard ends up leaving. And I mean, Marcus Thornton, again, he's a veteran combo guard. He's going back to not the team that drafted him, but the GM who drafted him in New Orleans, I believe he was drafted. And he always played well under him, under the GM leadership and whatnot. So, I mean, again, the Pistons are trying to go for it, trying to make that 7th, 8th seed, 6th seed, 5th seed, in that area. And I think it's important, we've seen the Cavs try to do that with Kyrie in, 2013-14 year? Yeah. When they went out and got Spencer Hawes and Luol Deng and all them guys. So, it's definitely interesting for, young, inexperienced players and team in general to get playoff experience and all that fun stuff. Channing Frye coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's a 3-team trade. The Cavaliers got Channing Frye, obviously, and a future second-round pick from Portland. The Magic got a second-round pick in the 2020 draft from the Cavs and Jared Cunningham. And Portland got Anderson Varejao and a future first-round pick from the Cavs. Now, obviously, trading Andy Varejao is, definitely it's definitely tough. He was the longest tenured Cleveland athlete. It's sad to see him go, but honestly, he wasn't playing. You couldn't really depend on him to be healthy. The Cavs probably should have traded him when his stock was at his highest, when LeBron was gone. But the Cavs would hold on to him, and then around the trading deadline, he would get hurt. He had the fractured wrist the one year. He had the blood clot in his lung or something like that. And then last year, he tore his Achilles, which ended up the Cavs making the trades to get Mozgov and J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert. So it's definitely hard. Jared Cunningham and Anderson Varejao are both expected to be waived. So the only unfortunate thing is the Cavs can't get Andy back because of basically the Z rule. Back in the 2009-2010 season, the Cavs traded Zydrunas Ilgauskas for Antoine Jamison, and then the Wizards cut Big Z, and the Cavs in 30 days signed him back. So after that, they said they put a kibosh to that, so you can't do that anymore. So the Cavaliers, if they would like Anderson back at some point in the future, they would have to wait a full calendar year. So maybe next year at this time he'll be back. I do have a feeling he will be back in Cleveland in the future. Whether that's as a player, as a coach, or as a front office type person. But I do have a feeling he will be back in the Cavalier organization. Randy Foye goes to Oklahoma City. The Thunder got Randy Foye. The Nuggets got DJ Augustine, Steve Novak, and 2 second-round picks. I believe I read that Steve Novak is expected to be waived also. DJ Augustine, he's a solid uh, backup point guard who could get hot at, at any time, but he just wasn't basically playing that much. Randy Foye to Oklahoma City, though, he's probably going to take over a lot of Dion Waiters' minutes. He's a combo guard. I don't see him playing much point guard, though. So, and again, he's a solid 3-point shooter. This year, it's not that great, but throughout his career, Randy Foye is a solid 3-point shooter, and they're just trying to put, other dead-eye shooters around him, around KD and Westbrook. Markieff Morris goes to Washington after a lot of trouble in Phoenix. Markieff Morris gets sent out to Washington. The Suns get Dwan Blair, Chris Humphries, and a first-round pick in the 2016 draft. I say that's a great trade for both teams. The Suns, they're rebuilding. I don't really know their power structure or what their future is going to be. But, getting a first-round pick, I don't know what protection there is, but as of right now, the Wizards aren't a playoff team. So if it's top 10 protected, the Suns could possibly get a top, 15, top 12, top whatever, first round draft pick. And, you could always find quality starters and role players there. Jeff Green from the Memphis Grizzlies goes to the Clippers, and the Grizzlies got Lance Stevenson and a first round pick in 2019. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought that a first round pick for Jeff Green is a little odd. Jeff Green, yeah, he's a solid, role player, but a first round pick, I mean, Lance Stevenson, he's a nutcase, and I think we all can agree on that. But giving up a first round pick for someone like Jeff Green, it's definitely interesting. And I read somewhere that Chris Paul and Blake Griffin aren't signed past 2019, so that could definitely be interesting because Chris Paul will be at the end of his career, and Blake Griffin at the time will be an unrestricted free agent. So, this may be one of the moves that in hindsight in 2019 we'll be looking at and saying, Doc, what the hell were you thinking? And then there were, a lot of smaller moves. There was a 3-team deal between the Hawks, Jazz, and Bulls. The Jazz got Shelvin Mack. The Bulls received Justin Holiday from Atlanta and a second-round pick from Utah. And the Hawks landed point guard Kirk Heinrich. And then, like I said before, Brian Roberts was traded to the Trailblazers along with a future second-round pick. And then the Heat also sent Jarnell Stokes and cash to the Pelicans for a second-round pick. So, not a lot of big moves. No Kevin Love, who were out. No Pau Gasols. No Dwight Howards. No one like that. So, it is definitely interesting that it honestly shows that a lot of the deals were for future second round picks. And those are probably the most, I don't know how I would say it, the most valuable assets because they're non-guaranteed contracts. And, you throw them in and, you throw him in when you need, just something in case a team has a trade exception. So you could you could use a trade exception on a player and give a team, 2 second-round pick for, whatever. Again, I think we all know most of this stuff, but it is definitely interesting. The winners of the trading deadline, I think, not being, I think Detroit and Orlando. One, I love Detroit getting Tobias Harris, Monty Eunice, and Marcus Thornton. And I love Orlando getting Brandon Jennings to back up, or even to start over, or start with Peyton. Another winner, I mean, not to be Homer, but the Cavs. Again, yes, you gave up a future first-round pick, but you got rid of a bad contract in Anderson Varejao. You got a trade exception also for $9 or $10 million because of him. You didn't have to use any of your trade exceptions, so now the Cavs, as of right now, have 4 of them. One was Joe Harris, Mike Miller, Brendan Haywood, and Anderson Varejao. And they also got a Channing Frye, who, as of right now, he hasn't played a lot, but he's shooting 90% from the free throw line, and he's shooting 39% from threes. So, and he's going to be perfect for what the Cavs want. The Cavs wanted another stretch 4 who they could play, who could play with, either Tristan or Mozgov or whoever. And just think of some of those lineups with, Channing Frye, Kevin Love, LeBron, Kyrie, JR. The defense will be terrible. We can all agree, but just spreading the floor, or because Channing Frye is a stretch 4, it'll force Kevin Love to, stay down low at the block, which was one of the main reasons why I think the Cavs wanted a stretch 4 so badly, is to force Kevin Love to play inside the paint and in the post and not be a spot up stretch 4 like Channing Frye is. Kevin Love is not that. I seen on Twitter that somebody said Ryan Anderson is a poor man's Kevin Love, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Kevin Love is someone who can, on any given night give you 18 and 15. Ryan Anderson, yeah, he could give you the 18 points, and it may all be from threes, but he's not giving you, 15 rebounds. At most, he's giving you 7, 8 at most. And it's not like the Cavs needed a, Ryan Anderson type. They didn't. But the comparison of, Kevin Love to Ryan Anderson, the only thing that is comparable to them, they're tall white guys who can shoot. That's basically it. Kevin Love has post moves, Ryan Anderson does not. I don't want Ryan Anderson anywhere below the free throw line at all. So, again, I think we all know this already. The losers, I think, is one of the teams that we haven't really talked about. They made a minor move. They traded Kirk Heinrich. And that's the Chicago Bulls. As of right now, they're in the 7th or 8th seed. And they have Jimmy Butler out for a long period of time. They have Joakim Noah out. And I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to trade Paul Gasol. Now, whether that was to Sacramento for, Ben McLemore or whatever, I think getting anything for someone like Paul Gasol would have been important. And he was an unrestricted free agent, so if you really wanted him back next year, you can just sign him. the Houston not getting anything for Dwight Howard, who will likely be opting out of his contract. From all reports, he's not happy in Houston. There's a report that came out today that in 2013 or 2014, both Howard and Harden tried to get the other traded. So, I mean, they're just a mess. They are just a mess. I thought maybe they could get some value out of a Corey Brewer or Trevor Ariza, but obviously nothing happened. With that. Another winner, I know I'm flip-flopping, is Phoenix, and getting rid of Morris. He was a cancer to their locker room, and, getting a first-round pick for him, and getting, Chris Humphries is a, solid, 4. He's not really a stretch 4. But it is what it is. You got a first-round pick for Markieff Morris, and yeah, Markieff will probably play a lot better in Washington. Washington needed a stretch 4 of some type. They were running out Nene and Gortat. They tried to make Chris Humphries a stretch 4. He has shot more threes this year, but, someone like Markieff who could, spot up, shoot the 3, facilitate a little bit, all that fun stuff. Another loser, I think the Sacramento Kings. They're just a mess. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know. Ben McLemore is not happy there. Kosta Koufos isn't really happy there. It's definitely interesting. Maybe you could have got something for Darren Collison. Maybe you could have got something from Rondo. I highly doubt Rondo, but, Collison, he has a friendly contract. Ben McLemore, he has one more year on his contract, then he's a restricted free agent. Toronto, I would say, and also, like I said, I was about to say, Toronto and Boston not doing anything was interesting. Not to say that they have a chance to, everybody has a chance, but a realistic chance to beat the Cavs in the playoffs. I think they needed to make one move. Whether that was Toronto getting Morris, Toronto getting, whoever, or Boston getting a top, a star, a Kevin Love type, even though, again, reports came out that none of that really happened. So, I think the last winner is the Portland Trail Blazers. They gained, as I think I read, that they have, going into next year, almost $50 million in cap room, and they have numerous assets. Same with Memphis, they'll be getting some cap room and a lot of assets to retool. So, it's definitely interesting. It was a slow trading deadline, but there were a lot of moves that were under the radar, but I think in the long run, we're going to look back and say, Portland Trail Blazers get, this star, and we're going to be like, well, how did they get all these assets to trade? And we're going to be like, oh, well, this is what happened. Same thing with Memphis. So, well, this will conclude the 3rd episode of Crunch Time with Katelin. Please like, subscribe, and comment what you think. Leave who were your winners and losers of the NBA trading deadline. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you next time.
I quit listening a long time ago. Your friends are just like you when you're not talking. You're waiting for your turn to start talking to me. You talk when you're walking and you talk in your sleep. You never hear this song cause you'll be talking. You probably talk when you're